Welcome into the Marvel Stuff Podcast, where, like we do every single week, we're going to discuss if you should send those nudes or not. I know you're thinking about it. You're debating. Should I click send? Josh, what do you think?
Send the nudes. Are you married? If not, it's going to be used against you, so don't do it.
All right, that seems like good advice. Ron, what do you got for us?
I think it depends on what you have to work with, like that's
do you really, though? Do you
only
Remember, Ron, this is the PG podcast. This is a pretty funny thing to go off the top with Cody here.
Anybody who knows me knows the chances of me actually sending nudes are pretty much 0% chance. Yeah, that's probably the least of my worries in terms of dumb things I could ever do. But I wouldn't send them.
Yeah, but how does anyone get people to look at their Grindr profile if they don't put their...
Yeah, I think there's a debate to be made, but we're not going to have that debate because we are the Marvel Stuff Podcast, and we're going to talk about all things Marvel, which was originally going to be just a list of like a little Halloween special, but we got blessed with an Ant-Man trailer dropping. Good thing we did this thing a day late.
Yeah, this is the last Monday live Tuesday episode. We accommodated to our schedules in the House of Dragon coming out on Sunday nights, so we'll be back to the regular scheduled Monday program starting next week.
Yep, but this time it worked out because Ant-Man dropped a new trailer, so we'll get a chance to talk about that, and then of course we do have a little breaking down our fears for a little Halloween special after this. So get to learn what we're scared of. Good things. Is it kittens? Is it chocolate? I don't know. So we'll find out. But
no, neither of those things. I can confidently say it's neither of those.
Those things are both delicious.
All right, let's do this thing. Ant-Man trailer. We've been caught up sort of in the Wakanda coming up and all its hype, and this sort of snuck up on me a little bit. I kind of forgot that it was about that time, that it was sort of the time for a trailer to come out. It makes sense. Did it move the needle? Did anyone get excited for it? Did anyone like, oh yeah, I forgot. Now I'm pumped for this now.
It didn't move a needle for me. I'm gonna be honest. It seems like it's gonna be another Ant-Man and Wasp movie. I'm of the opinion that each of them is worth a good watch, maybe two, and then you kind of just move on with the MCU. That's how I felt so far. Love Paul Rudd. I don't think the jokes are that funny a second time. So maybe this will be different, but I'm excited for Bill Murray. That's an interesting MCU casting that we got to see a peek of in this trailer here. We'll get to it. I want to know your guys' opinion on the recasting in Marvel in general. I think that's a discussion we should have after we talk about this trailer here because there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Are you referring to Cassie Lang? Did she get recast again?
Yes, that's just the one, but also General Ross got recast. T'Challa didn't get recast.
Yeah,
so I think it's an argument.
You could do a whole podcast on that probably if you want.
I know I'm going to. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll add that to the Black Panther. One I already have planned. We'll leave that alone.
Black Panther week. I think it moved the needle for me in some ways, but not others. I feel like in some ways it seems a little bit too different than the past two Ant-Mans, and I love the first one.
I feel like they're jumping the shark a little bit going into Quantumania, like completely, because the first one was very much like a fun heist movie with the idea of a quantum realm, but not actually exploring it. The second movie, we got our toes wet, but this movie seems like it's very much going into full blast. We're in the quantum realm for 70% of the movie, I would say. And is that something people want to see?
I don't hate that because explore weird places and weird things. And I think if you're going to do that, like an Ant-Man movie is the greatest spot to do it. And that part I did like. What are your thoughts, Coach?
I just don't care. I so don't care about the quantum realm that it's unbelievable how little I care about it, if I'm being honest with you. I like Kang. I think that's cool. That's probably the only reason, other than this podcast, that I would watch it. So I'm all for that. Like you said, I feel like it didn't feel like Paul Rudd was funny in the trailer at all. And it just seems weird. It seems disconnected. It doesn't seem like I want it to. I don't super care about like they're being lost. Like, what does that even mean? It doesn't even look like the same quantum realm.
It doesn't. I noted that as well. Yep. It doesn't feel like it was.
Yeah. I think this would have moved the needle more if we did not have any idea ahead of time that Kang would be in this movie. I think Marvel has tried to hype up things so much that they release a lot of information before trailers come out. And I think now when I watch trailers in general, like it loses the impact right now.
Can we just
and that's hard to
acknowledge
do.
Ant-Man is mid? Like everything about Ant-Man in his movies, it's mid tier. Ant-Man the Wasp is absolute garbage.
I really like Ant-Man. I like the first Ant-Man.
He's
The first one, I like the first one's fun.
He is
First one's fun.
fine at best. He's no one's favorite Avenger. Don't at me.
True. I think I love him in Endgame. I think he plays well off of other characters. I think he's a better,
he's still a good actor. I just don't care about the character.
Yeah, I think he's a better supporting character than he is as a protagonist. The most interesting thing about this trailer to me is like, what is his life look now that he is his status as an Avenger? Right? We already know that he like has a podcast, but that is reliant upon like his relationship with the other Avengers. That to me is almost more interesting. Also, I'll say this:
like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know for sure. I'll say this: I also don't buy that at this point in the MCU, people wouldn't know the difference between Ant-Man and Spider-Man. They would all know the difference. People in real life know the difference in the world, and they didn't save the day. People in their universe would totally know the difference.
We lost you there for a minute. I actually heard a little bit, but say it again for everyone. I think
I don't buy that people. I don't buy that people in the MCU, where these characters are actually real and have saved half the people in the entire universe. I don't buy that people wouldn't know the difference between Ant-Man and Spider-Man. I don't buy it. It's a dumb joke.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I pointed out all the time that we have exactly what you said. We already have like huge celebrities. The idea that like someone who has literally superpowers and has saved our universe wouldn't all be the most famous, most known things ever is like a ridiculous leap in logic. It's just not how it would work. So it's fine. I don't care that much. But back to this trailer, I think the family dynamic might be something people care about. Does anyone care about this family? Do you care about the mom's back now? And
it makes it even harder. One, Ron, you can ignore that message. It was just me doing editing things. And this family, I don't necessarily buy his relationship with Wasp that much. They don't have that much chemistry in what I've seen from these two characters. I don't love that. I like the actress that took over the role of Cassie more than the previous one, but that makes there feel like that there's another disconnect there, that it's just like, not only are we talking about a character that we've kind of don't super care about other than the fact that she's Ant-Man's daughter, and then we're going to try and turn her into like a main character. So we recast her because she has better acting chops. And I get that it's the studio decision and it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you're right. I feel disconnected from this whole family dynamic completely.
My favorite part of the last two Ant-Man movies is him bickering with Michael Douglas.
Yep.
And him hanging out with his buddies.
That's something.
Characters that aren't superheroes. I don't think a lot of his friends are in this. The guy from the Suicide Squad, forget the
Daniel
guy's
DeSmolchin,
name.
he's not.
Yeah. He's not in this, confirmed. Michael Pena has been quiet. I don't know if he's in it or not. T.I.'s not in it for other reasons. Anyway, those are my favorite things about the last two movies. I don't know how much of that we're going to get.
David DeSmolchin
in this.
Yeah, it's tough. And you have to really be invested in the like superhero-ness of it. Like, I think this is going to be the kind of movie that like I think people might like more than I will, because it's got Kang and it's like, well, what's it mean for the universe, and some people are really, really into that part of the MCU.
I think we have to
angle.
acknowledge that this is some next level stuff that it doesn't feel like it's within our realm of what we love to see out of comic book movies as a collective unit. The three of us here, it feels a little outside of what we've shown interest in. It doesn't necessarily make it mean it's going to be bad. It's just not going to be for me, from what I can tell from this trailer. Obviously, I'm going to watch it and I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think it'll be better than we think it's going to be. It could be great. The science fiction weirdness, I'm all about that in other properties.
That's true. You're a Star Trek man.
I'm theoretically all about that in an MCU film. The question is, will the world building be good enough of the quantum realm? Will Kang be interesting enough and in the movie enough? I think if you do some of those things well, great. But from where we are coming from, having just seen two Ant-Man films, they're both kind of similar in tone, and they just throw this trailer out. We already know Kang was in it. The quantum realm itself means nothing to us. It's kind of hard for us from this trailer to get pumped. for this movie.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little excited to find out like what society is in the quantum realm. Like, is it going to make any sort of sense? To me, it almost seems like it's not going to have any sort of flow to it, and that's going to bug me. But I don't know. I don't even know what Kang wants. I think that's an interesting little
To
aside.
conquer. No, that's
To conquer, but he's got to have a more interesting motivation.
No,
than
I'm
just
kidding.
that,
I'm
right?
kidding. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I
If this
think
is if this whole movie set up Kang, great. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
he's gonna be the big
Loki
bad.
did like the very introduction of the character, and this actor, if you guys didn't see the Creed 3 trailer, he's looking super jacked. I just wanted to make a side comment down that he's a big handsome dude and
Boulder shoulders.
Hollywood actor.
He put on 20 pounds, I think, from where he was before, and he was already a pretty strong guy.
He looks ridiculous in those movie posters.
I need to get a Marvel job and get paid to put on 20 pounds. That sounds great.
It's not that easy. A lot of working out.
Oh, I know, but if you were to give me $10 million,
They get paid a lot of money to do it, though. It's
Right?
kind of like the
That's
best deal ever. Like, can we acknowledge that Chris Pratt kind of just like lucked out? He went from like the schlubby fat guy who's like cast in one Marvel film, and now he's like the new action star, and he's super ripped and handsome. Like, he worked out for him.
Well, he's also Mario, so
Ooh,
Yeah, well, that's not his body; that's his voice, and it's fine. You know, people are butthurt about that. That's a different podcast. I don't care enough, so leave it alone. But I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It's fine. Yeah, we should get so into the weeds that we just talk about every time any Marvel actor is in anything else.
That's the
And we
thing,
just
is it's
cover it.
impossible now because everybody's been in everything. We have a former Catwoman in this one.
yeah.
Just saying, I got Michelle Pfeiffer.
6 degrees separation. It's of Kevin Bacon. It's like 2 degrees of Marvel. That's the
Kevin
new name
Bacon
of
was
that.
in an X-Men movie, so
Oh,
let's
wait,
just stop now.
Didn't we saw somebody else in this trailer, didn't we? Who did we see?
You talking about
Well,
Bill Murray?
Yes, thank
Bill
you.
Murray.
I said that
Okay.
already. Yeah, I said it's
Are we
cool.
surprised that he's in this trailer given the misconduct allegations about him? I was actually
No.
surprised he was in this movie.
I don't
Like
know.
the trailer itself.
I don't know
He'll-
enough about the
He'll
story.
be fine.
So
He'll be fine. He's still Bill
I
Murray.
feel like there's allegations everywhere. I don't know enough about the story to.
Neither do
opine.
I. That's why I'm like, yeah, he's still so far within the good graces of society as a whole. On the face, I don't know how well that's going to
Yeah,
work
no,
out for him because I don't know anything about the
he'll-
story.
He'll be fine. You know,
I have no
gonna
idea
have
what
him.
doing this movie.
Doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it.
Probably in a few scenes, probably be like Jeff Goldblum. I don't know.
Probably, yeah, you're probably
He's
Jeff
funny.
Goldblum level is probably, which is good. I think Jeff Goldblum is a big part of it.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say about the Ant-Man trailer. I think once we get past Wakanda, we can really start to sink our teeth into what the movie's actually about. I think it'll be a more interesting discussion. But for now, it had a trailer, and I think we all agree it didn't really move the needle in any direction. Partially, like Ron said, because we just knew so much about it that the trailer gave us nothing new.
I feel like I was more excited to watch Black Widow than I am to watch this movie. So
that's
where
true.
I'm
But then I didn't love Black Widow, so
at. That was
we'll
okay.
certainly see. Let's jump into some Halloween stuff. We did have a little bit of Halloween prep. I think
Yes, we
last
did.
year we did our top 10 favorite scary movies. And
We
this
did
year
Spooky Stuff podcast and then
Spooky
released
Stuff.
it on Monday, November 1st. So it wasn't exactly
Ooh,
Halloween.
Perfect timing. But yeah, let's dive into this. We have we're just gonna talk about our fears, some MCU fears, and some real life fears. So you guys get to know us a little bit more fun. It is Halloween. It is time for some spooky, scary stuff. So we're kind of just gonna do this as sort of a round robin, sort of free, open discussion. We'll start with a little bit of talk about some MCU fears, then we'll all get a chance to list a fear of our own. Maybe we'll discuss and make fun of each other if it feels necessary to make fun of Ron.
Of course.
That is why
that's
he's
for sure
on.
going to happen.
We're going to roast
So-
Ron. And he doesn't
For
even
sure
have to
gonna
say
happen.
anything. He just showed up.
But does anyone have anything about the MCU specifically they want to start with? They feel like this is a fear that is legitimate and it's only worsening in the holidays.
I'll kick it off. I kind of teased it in both Gotham City Rogues podcast and at the beginning of this one. I'm afraid the MCU is going to get too expansive. Like we said, this has been built to be something huge. There's been nothing like it in the history of anything, and it just gonna, if it keeps ballooning, then it's gonna dilute. It already feels like it's going toward that direction. There's things that I still absolutely love about the MCU, but then there's some things that I'm just like, could we have gone without that? Probably, but here we are and we have it. I'm not upset that I get more Marvel stuff, but it's going to keep happening. They're making new movies, new shows all the time. focusing on different characters that people are caring less and less about. You already brought out your major characters aside from the X-Men, and we know they're on their way. So after that, it's like we got the Fantastic Four, and then who else is left to really kind of take on this MCU challenge?
Yeah.
And do we feel like it has to stay connected? Can we eventually bust the universe and just be like, here's a Marvel movie that's not in the MCU?
Yeah, I put the same thing. This is my number one MCU fear. I actually counted the other day when I was on a long drive and I was very bored how many like superheroes the MCU has. Like I think Endgame had like 2 dozen in it.
Quick Google, you didn't have to actually physically count.
Well, I was driving and
he was bored. He said he was bored.
Okay,
right?
fair enough. You just asked Siri, but sure.
So Endgame had 2 dozen, and I think we're up to like in the 40s now, and that's without the Fantastic Four, X-Men, Blade, right?
Yep.
And I think Phase 4's had a lot of criticism for it being kind of directionless. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think one of them is that, Phase 1, we had all the Avengers that came together after one movie, right? Like the second time we saw them, other than Iron Man,
I know
they're
exactly
in a movie
where
together.
you're going. Yeah.
Right. Phase 2, it was like continuing their journeys, like they all spent time together as the Avengers. How did that impact them moving forward? Right. And then Phase 3 is like, hey, fast forward to Thanos. He's coming. We'll take the Guardians of the Galaxy, combine them with the Avengers. That was the pitch for Infinity War. And now it's like, what is Avengers 5 going to be like 5 different teams? Like,
That's
I'm almost
the interesting thing. Phase 4 isn't even ending with an Avengers movie. It's
not
ending. What are we doing, guys?
It's not. I almost don't want them to introduce the X-Men right now. I almost want X-Men to be Phase 7, 8, 9 because it's like that gives me more things to look forward to down the road. It feels we talk about how MCU is like a TV show, right? Like a TV show itself. Like TV shows, you have the ability to like weave different characters and storylines in and out. Except that in the MCU right now, I think the biggest reason that also Phase 4 feels weird is in TV shows or continuing storylines in general, right? Book series, whatever, you have continuing plot that builds on each other. The problem is the MCU is kind of built around just constantly introducing new characters, not like actual plot progression. And so like, it's almost like they're sitting in a room and rather than thinking like, hey, where would be a cool direction to take the universe? They're sitting around and their first priority is like, how can we introduce 1 billion characters? And I think we've always said, oh, it's going to be too many. Infinity War is going to be too many, right? We've always thought, like, at one point we thought Civil War would be too many characters, right? It wasn't.
No,
but
it was awesome.
At some point, you hit too many, right? Like, we all know if there was 500 characters, it'd be too many. If there was 300, it'd be too many. If there's 100 in the next Avengers movie, it's too many. At some point, it's going to be too many. And it feels like the fact that Ant-Man, who at this point is a major Avenger, isn't in Phase 4 at all. Like, to me, it's because, like, there's not space. And it's like, what are the major dynamics between potential Avengers characters? There's not any. Like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man was a great dynamic, but Doctor Strange doesn't know who Peter Parker even is anymore, right? So it's like, when you get the new Avengers team together, are we going to care about the relationships? I don't know.
I think the way to look
at
at it is like how many sequels were in Phase 4 compared to new projects. So it's just we're no longer focusing on the development of characters we already have. I can understand because some of them have been playing the characters for 10 years. Like we can give Robert Downey and Chris Evans a pass. It's fine. You did your work and we appreciate you. But at the same time, we've got a lot of characters that have shown up and haven't been developed entirely yet. So yeah, I'm with you, Ron. I guess this was my points. You're with me, but Coach, what are your thoughts?
Coach has been silent, so I'm curious to what extent he does or does not agree.
I super disagree. This is not on my list. It's not even close to my list. And I'll tell you why. In one simple reason, not everything has to be good. I think if you think about Marvel as every project has to be good, then yes, it's going to get too diluted. It's probably already there, but not everything has to be good. I don't have to like Ant-Man. I don't have to like this
Coach,
show.
I'm gonna push back on you. X-Men, it was hit or miss forever, and people just wanted that universe to die.
We're nowhere near that. We're nowhere near that percentage. The percentage is still absolutely most Marvel things.
Yeah, it's
are
true.
Very, 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 very good.
You can only say most because there's so many of them, though. It's like
but that was Coach, the same ratio back in Phase 2.
Coach, what's the thing that you have said is the best part about the MCU that's never been done before? You always say it.
I don't know. What
the fact that you have this whole interconnected universe of all these characters have their own movies and shows and come together. Are they able to do that with all the characters we're having now? I don't know if they are.
I brought that up in previous podcasts, like the fact that the
Well,
Avengers has to be divided into 2 movies because the Avengers are too big at this point.
I think to go off what you just said, Ron, you said, "Oh, I don't know if there's any fun connections or anything." Well, there was no fun connections going into Avengers 1. They created fun connections.
Yeah, but there were 6 people in that movie.
You got to acknowledge the
you're
ratio.
thinking about the whole universe as just the Avengers movies that come out once a year.
Yeah.
I think of the universe as Shang-Chi comes out, I love it. I think of it as the new Black Panther comes out, I'm excited for it. I think as individual projects, I still think every single year there are 5 to 6 things that I'm really excited about that are really good.
How many pay off? Recently, how many pay off?
Most, I would say.
You'd say most? Okay. I mean, there's a push there. I mean, I'm not saying I agree.
I think of everything I've watched this year, I would say most of them has been things I've really, really enjoyed. The most recent one being one that was like, okay. So I think it feels a little different.
Yeah, I mean,
the Ant-Man trailer, I think, doesn't help my argument. Because
and the fact that we had 2, I don't know if you want to call them whiffs, but Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk essentially back to back.
I love Ms. Marvel, so.
I know you do, and I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying consensus is they're on a downtick, and Spider-Man spiked it back up to unimaginable heights. Multiverse of Madness was what it was expected to be, but then they missed with Thor. They missed with Ms. Marvel. They missed with She-Hulk. They missed with What If.
There's a lot. Here's my fear. I'll say my non-fear first. Best case scenario, Avengers 5 doesn't force a lot of these characters in it, and there's a bunch of people that aren't in that movie, like at all.
Yep.
Like,
I hope for that.
If the Thunderbolts and if the Guardians and if a Defenders-like characters or whoever, I don't know, there's a bunch of characters that we have in the MCU that don't show up in that movie, but they show up in the movie down the road after that like deals with the fallout of it. That's fine. If they're going to do that, great. If Avengers 5 and 6 ends up being 40-something characters around, which I could see being at least a possibility, especially with Secret Wars, that to me, I think will have the same problem that the Game of Thrones show had, which is you have all these characters, they have their own plot lines, they expand out, they come back together, and you like got to cram in all of the interactions because there's just so many things. And I guess that's my fear, is that like there will be a need to bring all these characters together in some epic big battle to end all time at the end of Secret Wars, and it's actually just gonna be too much. I guess that's my fear.
That to me, that's a different fear than. Do I think that MCU is getting too big for its own britches? No, I don't, because I don't have the need for everything to be an A+. But it feels like everything's at least a B for my taste anyway. So I suppose to Josh's point, there is a fear that it gets less popular, and so eventually stops getting made. But we're so far away from that.
We're far away from that. No, I'm afraid that they're going to feel the need to bring all these characters together at some point, and it's going to be like too much. It's going to be like
they have to put up imaginary lines or established lines here soon. I think that's one of the things the Netflix shows benefited from, was you knew it was marginally set in the MCU, but you were never expecting Captain America to show up in Daredevil. When in current TV shows, that's all we talk about. Even on this podcast, we were speculating like who would be a cool cameo in this one and who would be a cool cameo in that one. When it's like we could just not do some cameos, have them feel like they're over here. I like the idea of an overarching universe. I don't like the interplay of too many characters because it feels forced.
It depends. I think that, like I said, that's why it's not my fear, because of Moon Knight exists, and it didn't have to do that. Because a Captain America kind of didn't have to do that. It just had its 2 main characters, and it didn't really have to do anything else. It was still a very good show. I think there are shows like She-Hulk that sort of need that sort of cameo-ness to them. So it
was fine in She-Hulk. It was fine in She-Hulk.
She-Hulk had all the cameos, which I appreciate because I got some of my favorite characters.
And this is a fear that I could easily see not coming true. If the Fantastic Four and X-Men and Thunderbolts and the Guardians are not in Avengers 5 and 6, then this fear is totally unfounded. If they're all in both those movies, like the universe is screwed.
I agree. If you try to, but I think that's more of a fear for those movies specifically.
The reason it's my fear is because the comics. A lot of the fears I have with the MCU are the same fears that happened in comic books, which is like characters coming back to life, too many characters. Like comics went that way eventually, and they could see
They're
a
still
world
that
in
way.
which the MCU goes. I know there's still nothing's changed. I could see a world in which the things I love with the MCU as opposed to comics happen. I guess that's my fear, right? There's comic books I read. Like I'm a big Batman fan, and I read some Batman comic books where it's like there's 60 something characters
I
on
know.
pages, and I can't keep track of
Literally,
it. And
in that, yeah, I read comic books religiously. Like that's one of my things, and there's a reason that comic book universes have to reboot every 10 to 15 years, and in DC's case, it's like every 5 years. But it's not.
Yes,
It's actually
every
not
five.
that bad.
Yeah.
The current one has been around for quite a while, but at the same time, it's just you can only take the characters so far, introduce so many before you have to bring in
Yeah.
a new regime.
But here's the big difference. Comic books have to get released all the time. We get years between movies. Like years
But
between
isn't that
movies.
also kind of a problem when
No, it's what been.
Yeah, but when's the next time we're gonna see? Like, I don't know. Daredevil was, he's one of my favorite characters.
It
He didn't
seems
show up
like a long time.
forever.
It seems like a long time, but if you really think about it, like how long is it between a John Wick 1 and a John Wick 2? It's still like 3 years between movies, even though they're not part of the universe. It feels longer because there's more in between it, but the real time we're waiting between a Thor movie and a Thor movie is roughly the same amount of time you would wait for any sequel to any movie.
I would say Doctor Strange 1 and Doctor Strange 2 was a solid 5 years, which is a long time in the comic book world.
That's a little long. Yeah, but he was also in other movies between
Avengers,
whereas you wouldn't get.
He was. I think my issue is that the universe seems to be built upon adding characters instead of.
I agree with this. This is
planned out plot lines, right? Like the reality is, there was a whole thing that came out about how Kevin Feige tried to get the Russo brothers to think about like, do you just kill off all the OG Avengers in Endgame? Right, like that shows you how little of a plan they have to some extent, even for the characters. I think the MCU is in some ways built so much on just introducing characters that it's like maybe they need to slow down.
We've still got characters being introduced that are on the curtails of Iron Man. Like right now, we've got Ironheart incoming. She is never going to meet Tony Stark, yet that is a key part of her origin. So I
just think like slow down. Like this could be a universe for 20 more years.
I do agree.
So like pump the brakes a bit. I'm fine if we get 3 or 4 shows a year, 4 movies a year. You have more interplay among
as long as they're all bangers.
As long as they're all bangers.
But it's to Ron's point. It depends on what their plan is to use them. If Miss Marvel is going to exist just in her show, the Captain Marvel movie, and that's kind of it, great. I think it was a good job to introduce her. But if you introduced her because you need her to be in Secret Wars and you need, the Captain America and the fake Captain America and Bucky, who's not Captain America, they all need to also be in it. And every character you're introducing has to be in these movies. That's a problem.
I think there's no way that Miss Marvel's not in one of those 2 movies. Like we talked about how big that show is in terms of representation. So then like have that character just around for 2 things, like actually feels like a disservice to that community.
Maybe.
And she's a great character, right? So I think that like until we get to a point where they can show like, oh, we'll use a character and then like whatever.
Maybe
Moon Knight might not be in Secret Wars.
It has to be important to the character, because if you just throw them in because they represent a certain section of society,
obviously that would be bad.
That's just being the token.
I think Miss Marvel's a bad example because I think she will fit in and it makes sense.
Moon Knight's probably the best example you can come up with of a superhero that might not ever intersect, or maybe like Werewolf at Night would be another example.
Yeah, exactly. Also, did they introduce her because they need her to be in a bunch of things, or is she just gonna have one more show maybe someday? But anyway, all right.
Yeah, that was a long one on that one, so we should.
But that's a big one. That's a big one.
I knew that was a big one. I knew it's good that we shared it too. So
I'm glad that it came out. That was a good discussion. So let's transition and let's do a round. We'll take a breather. Let's do a round of our own
personal
real life fears.
I like it.
It's coming up to Halloween and we're really scary. I sort of took death off the table for everyone because I think that's encompassed in a lot of.
You actually
fears.
didn't say that, but that was one of mine anyway, so it's fine.
So just listing. I mean,
I didn't actually make a list. That's the thing I meant to, and I haven't yet.
He told me that. Then the question becomes: did you tell me that and not Josh because you think I'd be afraid of death and Josh isn't?
Well, it's because they definitely would have made my list. But I think a lot of things would. I think so. My number one. I'll start with my number one fear because I don't know how long we'll get to chat around it. My literal number one fear in life is the anxiety that is created when like I'm being blamed for something that I did not do. Like I'll give an example. I was at work and one of the ladies who work at our shop got like a note from someone. It was like a mean note. It was just a mean note that she got about like, oh, I already told you how to do this. This is so stupid. And like my boss calls me and he's like, Did you leave Tori a mean note? I was like, no, I didn't leave me. Well, she sure thinks you did, and now everyone's pissed. And like my entire life was just drained from my face. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. I knew I didn't write this letter, but like I was like in my head, how do I prove that I didn't write this letter? Because that's a huge fear.
Well, you could show them your kindergarten handwriting. That would help.
That's definitely what I said. Like, if you've seen my handwriting, you know for a fact.
You're not
if I wrote
people,
that note,
yeah.
no one would be able to read it anyway. But that's a huge fear of mine. I hate it.
Yeah. I like that one. I got a show rec for you that you're absolutely going to hate, and you should watch it because me and Dominic just watched it. Dominic's my wife. The Night of on HBO Max. It won a bunch of Emmys and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good.
No chance.
Somebody wrongly blamed for murder, I believe.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Coach, I am sorry. We've talked about this before. We talked about this last time I saw you. And I know enough about your life to know like why that's one of your biggest fears and just like the anxiety that creates in so many types of situations, right? Like I get anxious about like what if someone thinks I stole a candy bar from a store and I didn't? And it's like for me, it's like, well, that's a stupid fear. But you just gave an example of like a real life scenario in which that happens.
I have the solution. Just do everything you get blamed for, whether you did it or not, because then you got the chance to do it.
I mean, partially, I think that like.
I would currently be an arsonist if that was a case.
You should have left her another second note that was even crappier than the first note, and then she'll know that it wasn't you the first time.
They did find out who wrote the note, though, for the record.
Yes, but here's the problem with that fear, too, is that like even if you get unblamed, it still then makes you afraid of that kind of thing happening in the future.
Yep. That's true.
It's not like, everything went fine. Like, I'm great. I'm in the clear. Like, the anxiety still persists.
That's a weird. Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from there. I think I care so little about what other people think a lot of the time, and I'm just like, oh, you think I left a note?
Yeah, but if
I'll deny it, but I'm not going to do anything beyond that. Be like,
yeah, you get fired for that. That sucks.
Yeah, if I get fired for that, or if I'm going to jail, like you said, if I murder someone and I go to jail, I'm like, I knew that when I murdered him. But if I go to jail for some murder I didn't do.
Go murder someone else.
I'm just stuck in here and I have no way out of it. That's terrifying. All right, Josh, go ahead.
Mine is not so much a way of like you're describing a different type of fear. So I
have ones of both.
Okay,
types.
The one that comes to mind for me, razor blades and needles and like surgical knives and stuff. I mean, I got tattoos. You know what I mean by needle, like needle. It's just
like you're giving plasma, like that kind of thing.
I've given plasma many times, and I could never look at my arm when it was doing it. I can't do it. It gives me the skeeves. I don't know if you want to call it. If you want to call it.
Talk about how poor our podcast is that we all get plasma like clowns.
Okay, for the record,
I still do it. I still give.
I haven't done that in 5 years. It was to survive living on campus.
It's in there somewhere.
An apartment at college.
My mark's still fresh.
Too poor. We're all too poor. That's fine.
I mean, that's just a fact. But yeah, no, just the whole. I mean, I genuinely think if I didn't have this fear, I could have done pretty well in like a medical field. But just the idea of things puncturing, entering where they're not supposed to, like watching it makes me super uncomfortable. Like anytime you have a heroin scene in a show or a movie, I have to look away, even though those are fake needles. I can't do it. It won't. I can't do it. And
I don't think I agree. But I am afraid of things that are sharper than they like appear. Like you said, like a surgical thing. It just seems like it wouldn't be that sharp, and you could just like drop it and like cut your arm. That freaks me out a little bit.
It's not that so much because it's just like razor blades has a negative. They have a negative connotation that I'm sure anyone can like pick up on. So just the idea of razor blades in general just give me this excuse. I'm like, it's not for me, dude. I can't do it.
All right, go ahead.
That story reminds me of when my dad told me that he had a phlebotomist at one point that was afraid of needles, and the guy was terrible at his job. My dad was like, "You should find a different career field." Okay, well, I'll dive into. I think I probably have some top fears. I wouldn't say here. They're more for therapy, but I'll give the top one that one I feel vulnerable talking about, but also that I think would make sense.
Wait, preface this. Can we roast you for this one?
Oh yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
I know coach is going to roast me for this one for sure.
I mean, I don't want to be insensitive, but also I'm funny.
No, absolutely
podcast.
can. This my one of my fears in life is that my best possibilities in terms of like the type of life that I had, structurally, community-wise, locationally, in terms of those things, the best possible scenarios I had for that in terms of dating are behind me.
So it's like one of those fears that are like true though. Like it's
It's
like you're getting all the thing and the dating pool shrinking. That makes
it's like I went to a Christian college, like a Christian. I went to a Christian college, like worked in a bunch of ministries, lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, went to a church with like a big young adult group, and like for one reason or another, blew a lot of those opportunities to date women there that I was interested in. And now that I live in Colorado, Colorado Springs is a community where people are in and out a lot quicker. A lot of my friends are younger than me. I'm not as baked into so many of those different types of communities where it's like, I didn't go to school here. Like I haven't had some of the same types of jobs. I haven't found any churches that are that big with young adult groups.
Isn't that marginally freeing though? Now that you no longer have the pressure to
No. Because I feel like if you look at
the
the graph of like of my dateability versus like options, like the more dateable I feel like I get, the older I get, the like more my options go down. And so it almost feels like I had a window in there a few years ago that I like missed the boat on.
Your fear is being actively realized at all points.
You'll be fine.
You'll
do great, Ron. I have confidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fear that like I just find the right person and it doesn't matter anymore, right? But
you're not going old enough. You need to go to a retirement home where their best days are behind them, and then just like get them for all their money. That's the way to do it right now.
They're really loving
you gotta ring in the cash now, and then you're like the cash daddy for the future girls that you date.
That's advice this way. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good advice, but it's definitely a plan.
It is advice. That's for sure.
I figured coach was going to roast me more for that.
No, I mean it's just this is the way it is, Ron. You had your shot, you suck, but you can always move that and stuck here, I guess. The podcast will help. We get this podcast a little more popular.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
To be fair, this is not like our female viewership. It's somewhere like 37%. We're pretty pretty good for a nerd podcast. Yeah, it's
obnoxiously high given the amount of times that it's just like 2 to 3 dudes on a screen.
We've had a total of like 4 female guests, and yeah, that's how it goes. It's okay though.
Obnoxiously less than attractive men as well. But it is what it is.
We have had a lot of pretty
speak for yourself, coach.
Okay looking dudes.
Yeah, you could pull off the ugly Jamie Lannister for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Halloween costume. I'd be fine with ugly Jamie Lannister. That's fine.
It'd be hard to be hot Jamie Lannister.
He's a 10. I'd be like a 7. Like that's okay.
Nah, it's all right. Little
shooting for the stars, eh? No,
yeah.
All right, let's get back in the world of MCU. Josh gave us a good discussion last time. You got something for us this time around? A little MCU.
I do. I'm going to give a very specific fear that I think probably only I have that probably won't be as long of a discussion.
Interesting.
I'm afraid that the MCU is never going to use Mordo's full potential. So specifically when I say that,
that's a niche one.
It's a niche one. The reason I bring it up is because it's the thing about Multiverse of Madness that frustrated me the most, because I spent 5 years waiting for like a Mordo Doctor Strange rematch, because that post-credit scene is still one of my favorite post-credit scenes. I think Mordo's arc in that movie is great. I think we all left that movie being like, well, that's dumb. He was mad that Doctor Strange like saved the whole like world. But in Phase 4, it's like, well, with all their universes in the multiverse, maybe Mordo was right?
The guy in the multiverse was not. He was a variant of Mordo. Our Mordo is still alive and kicking, and I'm sure he'll do some messed up stuff later.
I'm not 100% convinced. They probably almost killed him in the Multiverse of Madness.
Did you? Yeah, they filmed it and everything.
Yeah. And they backtracked on that, but the fact that they got so close to actually just killing the OG variant,
interesting
to me makes it feel like they see like shiny new thing, like, oh, Wanda, like, and they're like, oh, screw that other thing we had. And it's like, oh, how about you just do both? That fits in with my fear of like the constantly introducing new characters. Like you have a cool story thread from a previous set of movies, like continue it like a TV show probably would. Don't just like bury it for half a decade. I have
the opposite fear. I fear that they will bring Mordo back ever, because I just don't ever want to see him again. I don't care. I'm over
You
it.
didn't find him interesting at all?
It's
Not
a
even
shorter
like a little bit.
discussion.
His
I think he's.
philosophical differences.
I think he'll make a good antagonist for one more movie. I don't see him as like the ultimate power threat in future things.
no.
But there are a lot of like magic users within the MCU, so I can understand why they considered it. I'm glad they didn't follow through with it because Mordo is one of those guys that is like, well, how many people can really rain terror on Carmitage other than Wanda?
I didn't say he had to be the main villain of another movie. I just think like this is an overarching fear in general that like the MCU sometimes does interesting character things and then like doesn't follow through on them.
That's the problem with that's another thing that you can even relate to the first discussion is like there's so many characters that these B and C listers are left behind in the dust and it's like, hey, maybe you'll have a payoff in 7 years, maybe not.
That's why they're B and C listers. You know what I mean? The backup doesn't get to get in the game. I'm fine with it.
Justin Hammer's making his way back, and he's another one of those weird guys.
Hey,
I don't care. I wish he wasn't. He's not interesting.
I love Justin Hammer. He's great. He's another great. No. He's a great Tony Stark villain, not an Iron Man villain.
Yeah. Tony Stark's not here. Whatever. He shouldn't be back. Whatever. I think.
Yeah, there you go. There's my very specific niche fear.
I think the best thing that could have happened to Mordo would have been if Wanda would have killed him at the beginning of that movie. I think that would have been a very interesting start, and I'm like, cool. That was.
He's still got to go on like a witch hunt. I think that's what we need to see.
That was the point. That's how it was supposed to be. He was supposed to be going on the witch hunt.
That's fine then. Yeah, if they would have done it that way, that's fine. He got to go on his witch hunt. He killed a couple.
I just think, I think Doctor Strange has probably fears about himself and who he is that Mordo as a villain would have been an interesting interplay, right? Like the whole question, like, is the villain right? Nobody's watching Multiverse of Madness being like, is Wanda right? Like for the most part, you're like, no, she probably shouldn't be doing this, right? And I find those villains interesting. Mordo's one of those villains.
That's fine. I accept that. One more round of personal ones.
If I could think of another one, you guys go first.
I mean, I have a basic fear. I think I'm afraid of heights. I think I
love heights, dude. They make me uncomfortable. That's why I like them.
I've had to work at camp, and I did high ropes all the time, and I did it with kids, and I was terrified of heights the whole time. I did Jordan's bachelor party, my brothers, and we jumped off high cliffs, and I was terrified of it. But I've always done them.
Those are bad ones though, because if you would have pansied out in the middle of the jump, you were dead.
Which one of our buddies did, like an idiot. He instead of jumping out,
Who was it?
Keenan. It was Keenan.
That sounds like Keenan. Yeah.
Jumped towards the wall a little bit like an idiot. So of course he hit bottom, and what an idiot. But that's neither here there. But yeah, I mean, I'm afraid of heights. And
is he fine?
Yeah, yes, he was fine, but he
okay. I mean, I don't know. You're like, he died. Like
he hit the bottom, and he was like, "Oh fuck, dude, I hit the bottom." I was like, "Yeah, you did. You didn't."
That guy is gonna be a father now. Shout out Keenan. Hope you're listening.
Yeah, good dude, probably not.
Probably not.
But yeah, no. I mean, I think that's a pretty basic
fear, will give you the caveat. I've always been the type of guy that like whenever something makes me uncomfortable, I'm like, I should do this because I don't like the feeling of discomfort. So if I do it, I won't feel as uncomfortable with it. It's just kind of a weird thing that I had to work on because I used to be too nervous about things and anxious. And it's just like, yeah, but what's the worst that's going to happen? And the worst hasn't happened in almost any scenario. So we're doing okay.
That's true. That is true. That's how those things go.
Real fear. I mean, on a like ridiculously serious note, I guess I'm like, I have a fear of being complacent because it's the antagonist of progress. The minute that I get comfortable, I'm like, yep, this is the stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm 60 and still where I was.
Yeah, I don't have that fear at all, but I mean, it's a pretty basic.
I hate it. I hate the idea of not moving.
Do you feel like there's specific reasons why you have that fear, or is it just like because
this isn't his therapy session, Ron?
It can be if you want it to be. No, I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. It's just like I don't know.
I think it's just.
I was trying to get a sense of was it like a real fear that happens, or is it just like a fear that's just like it's just there and it's like whatever, you know?
You don't want to end up like.
I feel like Ron. I respect Ron for always making moves. He's taking new jobs, moving to new places. Good work on you, Ron. And to work on myself more. Need to do some new stuff.
I am afraid that the show Survivor will get canceled before I get to go on it. as a contestant.
Yeah, that's again another one of those fears that are like is true and is going to happen.
It's probably going to happen.
You should be
and
afraid
it-
of things that are less likely to happen. Like
And the reality
falling
is
from heights.
like it's fine. Like my life will be fine if I never go on Survivor. But it's like that one pipe dream that everyone's like, "Oh, you're totally gonna go on with it. You'd be so great." And it's like, just tell me I probably won't get on the show, and like I'll believe it more, and then I'll be
I've
like more
told you-
okay with not getting on. Which
I've
speaks
told you
to
forever,
Coach.
it's never going to happen.
You told me forever that you hope I don't get on the show because you said that if I lose, you'll feel sorry for me, and if I win, I'll be insufferable. And you're probably correct on both those counts.
And I wouldn't be able to. I mean, the biggest
That's
problem
fun.
is that I would have to watch, and I would hate every second of it. 'Cause either you would be authentic, and then I would be like, "Oh, I'm so nervous that he's not going to make it," or you'd be a clown, and I'd be like, "Oh, what this dingus just out there acting like an idiot." I hate it. So I hope you never get on. I'm sorry that I'm crushing your dreams, but for me,
I've never
No, I
watched.
told you. I need more people to tell me that, and then I'll be more okay if it doesn't happen.
Ron, I'll
Be like,
tell you that just because, but like I don't watch the show, so you could be the perfect candidate, and I'd have no idea. But your dream is stupid. Stop.
you're never getting on. You know, one of my biggest fears is I'll ever have to watch an episode of The Bachelor again. Every time Bachelor comes
I
on,
have to hear episodes of every iteration of The Bachelor and other trashy reality TV nightly. So there you go.
it's just the worst.
There's
Yeah,
like
sometimes I just
two
have to
of
listen
them
to
I'm
the
okay
podcast.
with, and the rest I'm just like, this is insufferable.
It's all-
Ooh,
it's
but there
all
you go. Idea for She-Hulk season 2. It's like her on a Bachelorette kind of show. That'd be fun. Or
I'd watch
Bachelor
that.
kind of show.
And
That'd
I
be
would
funny.
definitely watch that.
Dude, I think I pitched something like that when we did like a pitching
did you? I think
thing
you might have
on a
actually, now
previous
that I think about it.
podcast. Yeah.
But
It
She-Hulk
was
wasn't in
something
her
not
bag
She.
at the time.
It wasn't She-Hulk specifically. It
But
was
She-Hulk
like,
would be
what if
the
we did a
perfect-
superhero dating show.
She-Hulk would be the perfect candidate for that kind of show.
It'd
though.
probably be like a one-off episode, so they probably wouldn't do it that well.
No,
Like
that's
a
fine.
wedding, but
No,
that's
King
okay.
Bates would love it.
Dude, you know Noah King Bates. He's a great guy. Love
yeah,
that guy.
My biggest MCU fear is that Noah King Bates is never going to get to see She-Hulk naked, and that's just.
It's
can't- I don't know
all
if I
over
can
the
live with that.
internet. You don't. What is it? Rule 67.
But if it's
whatever
not,
that-
if it's not the official
37.
MCU version of her naked, then is it?
well,
really
that's
count?
just never going to happen. But
No,
you know,
no.
Never gonna
there's some
happen. It's never-
pretty
never gonna
impressive. There's some animators with some imagination.
All right.
I'm sure
I'm glad
there's a
that-
subcategory in
I'm glad
every.
that
Yep.
we can still trash Noah, even though he's not here. I thought this was fun. I hope everyone enjoys their Halloween. I hope you guys feel a little spooked out by all of our.
Coach, did you give
deep-seated
one?
Fears.
Did you
MCU,
MCU
an
fear?
MCU take?
Coach should not give an
Yeah.
MCU fear. You should give
I
one,
just-
Coach.
do
I could
one?
give
We
an
got
MCU take.
10 minutes, 15, whatever.
Yeah, my fear of the MCU is sort of being realized every day, and that is that I will never get to talk about how good a movie is. I will only ever get to talk about what was and wasn't in the movie, and does it make sense for the universe. I
Yep.
just fear that we live in a world where every discussion ever is just about how does it make logistical sense in the universe, and I
That's-
just want to have discussions about how good the movie actually is.
That's a great segue, Coach. I know you didn't mean to, but that's why we introduced the idea of Marvelous Depths. It's really doing in-depth looks onto some of our favorite movies and other movies within the MCU and other Marvels. And
Blade
we're doing
Trinity.
one for Halloween here. Yeah, we're doing Blade Trinity.
Coach, you
Terrible
feel like
movie.
that's a pot because you're a podcaster, or like because I feel like
No,
She-Hulk.
I hate everything about it everywhere. I hate it's like sometimes it's literally conversations just like in parking lots of tailgates. Someone be like, it's kind of dumb, don't you think? They didn't even mention the big giant immortal in the thing. It's like that has nothing to do with Thor. That has nothing to do with the actual Thor movie. I hate you for bringing it up right now.
Fair point.
Yeah, I think that's why we liked She-Hulk at least well enough, though. It's because it didn't build the universe a ton in ways that were like, oh, it's all connected. It was just like fun, just like random stuff happening, and we wanted more of that.
I think the fear is just we always contradict ourselves in what we want.
That part.
Like any good fan does. Correct.
Like any, yeah. We
God,
want
I
to be
can't believe you
fans.
didn't do this thing, but you did do that thing.
Oh,
Like,
The
why
Last
did you
Jedi's
do
not
that
Star Wars
thing?
enough. Oh, The Rise of Skywalker is 2 Star Wars.
That's exactly what it is, Ron, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate being a fan of everything.
Can I give one more fear because I think it would be an interesting discussion.
Okay.
Sure.
And I think it's pertinent to where we're at right now. I'm sure we'll keep
Oh,
discussing
perfect.
it. I fear.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and hope you don't have too much fun without us. And I'm kidding. All right, go ahead, Ron.
I fear the Defenders and all the Marvel Netflix shows will not be canon, and I think that would be a missed opportunity.
That's a
And I
fun
fear
one.
I fear the Disney shows, regardless, will not be as good.
The actors have said that your fear is true, but I don't buy it. That's the
Really,
problem.
that's an interesting take. You
I
think
yeah.
you're just throwing smoke?
No,
I think, yeah, I think it's a waste of something that was great.
It's not,
If they
though.
try and shoehorn,
This is nonsense.
it needs to be at least some of it, man.
That's the point.
Like-
That's the answer. The answer is they will never say the show is canon because then everything in the show has to be canon.
That's
They'll
true.
treat it exactly like Star Wars Legends. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is Matt Murdock. He is the same character, but not everything that happened in that show is canon, just in case we want to bring the hand back, or just in case we want to do this or that.
There's
So
ways
it'll
to do
be
that, though.
it'll be as if they live that life, but not everything in that life exactly happened in this universe. So it's just
Is it? Could they have done the multiverse thing at that point? Then
they didn't need to, though. I think the answer is they didn't need to, unless you're just one of those people who.
But that could have been the answer, like they did in the Spider-Man
It could've.
movies. Be
It
like, Matt
definitely could've
Murdock
been the
came
answer.
over too, and now his history isn't his history, but it is.
No, you
I
definitely
think
could have done it that way.
The reason it's a fear of mine is because I liked what a lot of those shows set up. Like I liked them setting up a new Bullseye. I liked how Luke Cage looked like maybe he was going to be more of a bad guy in the third season. And so if they
your
don't
fear
pay
is
off some of
more
those
that
things,
you're never going to get sequels to those shows. Less. That's
sure,
what you're
sure,
saying.
yeah, sure, yeah.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, it's a fear that I've come to accept. But I do. It annoys me to think that I'll never get a true Punisher season 3. But I accept the fact that I will get him back as Punisher. I think it's kind of how I look at it.
It's a very mature way of looking at it. I'm pissed.
I'm not as mature as you, Coach. I don't have the maturity. I haven't.
No, I do get it. I think
fandom
it's. I think it's a completely accepting to. But it's been so long since Netflix did it.
Yeah, but they're on all on Disney Plus now. It's like
never long enough.
Like,
that's the problem. All of the Netflix universe took place within the timeline of the MCU. So you're just telling me that like that whole thing was its own thing, but it was coming out at the same time as Marvel movies.
Also,
Yeah,
Coach, I just didn't like it when Star Wars did it. When Star Wars did it, it was stupid. Legends was better than the new stuff they come out with. There, I said it.
Yeah, but you also
probably watch Legends. I don't know what you're talking about. To be honest,
read Legends. You also
there you go.
They do more interesting things.
No, yeah, that's good. That's a good last topic. I'm glad Ron brought it up. I don't want to expose any more of my fears in case someone sneaks up on me with a spider. Kidding, I'm not actually.
Or a clown mask, or
someone tries to drown me.
Drowning scary? Masks are pretty scary.
Drowning's scary because it probably won't happen to me, but it does happen to people.
Not about that.
Yeah, I grew up around a pool. I'm not really afraid of that.
Yeah.
All right.
My first week of lifeguard training, I knew somebody who died. Not like didn't know them, but knew people that knew them.
Were you the lifeguard on duty? Is that what the root of all your problems is? Did you murder someone?
No, just gonna escalate.
Did you choose not to save him?
Yes. We're gonna keep escalating this. I'm Mephisto, Josh.
Mephisto confirmed. Thought it was Sacha Baron Cohen, but I guess
that's
it's
the thing.
Is Mephisto confirmed now?
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I thought it was still just a rumor.
Never. No rumors. Everything is facts. All right. This was fun. I love Halloween. Have fun. Take pictures of your costumes. I will. I'm gonna post a picture of my wife in our costume because it's an amazing costume. So check that out.
I'll post our family
Marvel
pickup
related,
when we take our family picture this weekend. Yeah,
it'll be fun.
It'll be great.
Yeah, look forward to Halloween. Like I said, we'll be back on our normal schedule next week. Live Sunday night. Pod will come out Monday. So check us out. And in the meantime, just try not to have too much fun without us. Rate, like, subscribe, pod.